Good evening, everybody. I hope you're well. I am just waiting for Samantha, aka the style editor, to join me on this live. Hopefully she will be along soon. It is a gorgeous day here. I'm guessing it is where you are too, because thank God it's finally spring. So this is very nice. Oh, here she is already. Nice and punctual, like I like it. Just get her on. If I can. Why is it not doing it? Oh no. It's saying Samantha Style Editor must upgrade their app in order to join. Sam, can you go off and we'll come back on in a couple of minutes? I had this the other day with someone else. They had to update their app and then come back on. It's like, Samantha, can you hear me? I think I'll just shut this down and we'll come back on in like a few minutes when Samantha's just updated her app. I'll just make sure I definitely can't invite her. Can I invite her? Yes, I can. Okay, this is going well. Everything's okay. Waiting. Is it working? Oh my God, this is the worst bit. Go live in a room. Oh God, where's it gone? Yay! I was just having one of those, I can't work it, it's not playing, I can't do it.
Sometimes it's an absolute nightmare, isn't it? Technology.
Yeah,
but
honestly,
here we are.
Here we are, we're on. I'm loving the earrings, they're very statement.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. They're actually Zara, but I got them from eBay.
Ooh.
So
very good.
Little secret.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for joining me today on my interview. So this is kind of like, I've already interviewed you for my blog, and then I kind of do like a live version. So it's quite fun, and we can explore things that we might not have got to in the text version. So are you excited? Just dive right in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so you're a stylist and an editor, which is kind of like a double threat or something. Like it's kind of picking off two major things. Like if you can, I'm really envious of anyone who's a stylist. Actually, it's very like, yeah, it's real skill, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was too before I qualified as one. So I always wanted to be a journalist and managed to do that. And then a few years ago, when I was at an event, it's always just loved fashion, loved clothes, did a lot of internships on magazines, but obviously they're not as glamorous as The Devil Wears Prada makes them look. Did all of that, loved it. Even when I was like running around London trying to take stuff back to various places, yeah, I just loved it. So became an editor, and then a few years ago I was at an event and I met a stylist, and she was talking to me and she was like, you have the gift, like you should be a stylist too. That would be a really amazing combination, to be an editor and a stylist. But at the time I massively lacked, although I'd got to be an editor, I actually hugely lacked confidence in myself. And so I was like, no, I can't do that, not me. And then over time, gradually, as I was sharing my outfits on Instagram, I was getting messages from women saying, could you help me pick an outfit for this? Could you help me with, you know, a look for an interview that I'm doing? So I realized there was obviously a market there. And then last year, coronavirus happened, had a touch of burnout, no big deal. And I was just like, you know what, I'm ready now. And the stylist had been messaging me over, you know, the course of those couple of years, checking in every now and again. And I just phoned her and was like, I'm ready to do it. So she then became my coach and I qualified, and yeah, now here we are.
So you have the gift.
In
I love it.
nearly
April. Like all stylists have the gift, don't they? It's like that thing, that little bit that changes something from being okay to being like, oh, that looks amazing. So it's definitely sought after quality, I think. But shall we go back to the beginning and talk about how you kind of got started in the industry? Because journalism, I guess, is your first love.
Yes, unfortunately for me, I am a glutton for punishment. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I grew up in a not the best area, and I was my parents were actually amazing, and they made us very like socially engaged people. My dad would say to me like, you're not competing with the people that that live near us or whatever. You're actually competing with the people who, have more opportunity and privilege than you do. So they pushed me in a really good way. They would save up and like take us out, and actually took us to Oxford one day when I was about 11, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, and then ended up living here. So yeah, I was very kind of socially engaged, and I'd be writing letters to the local paper, or writing letters to Tony Blair. Like when I was like 10 and 11, I was very angry with Tony Blair, and so my letters would get published in the paper. And then when I was about 15, I started doing work experience, because at the time, obviously it is still really competitive, but at the time the only kind of route in really was internships, making connections. I didn't know anyone in the industry. I was just like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to make it happen. Yeah, and then got my first job. And the rest is history.
I think because I did a bit of interning when because I was like features editor on the university paper, and I went to my local paper to do a bit of work experience. And it's so much harder, isn't it, to get into the industry. I remember like a couple of my friends went off to do magazine journalism courses in London, and it was just so competitive. I remember it, and I ended up going into the PR world instead. But just to even get in the door, like to do some work experience on a magazine you actually liked, you'd have to literally, I don't know, sell your soul. It was really hard, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so hard. The competition was huge, and obviously then at the time, although the internet was a thing, I'm not that old. Now there's a lot more. You have social media, so you can have a platform potentially. If you've got that kind of knack, you can create your own thing. Whereas then it was very much more, you have to try and get in the door somehow. And I remember for the first job I actually got, they had something like 400 applications. So it was seriously really competitive.
So it must have given you a really kind of thick skin then to kind of get yourself really in there. And I suppose a lot of journalism, I do think, like, especially when you're on like local papers or whatever, you do have to have like quite a lot of tenacity, don't you, to there's a lot to withstand when you're in that field. And like you say, you do need to almost like love it, as it's that passionate career, isn't it, that you want to make a difference. Like I guess you were with even back writing to Tony Blair, you like wanted to make a change, I guess.
Yeah, what a little nerd I was. But it's fine, it paid off. But yeah, you're so right about the being tenacious. And I think I've always been the kind of person, and actually people who get this and know me play on it a bit, where they're like, tell me that they'll say, you can't do that, just so, because they know I'm the kind of person that will be like, I absolutely can do it.
Definitely.
So yeah, so you have to be tenacious. And I remember on the first job I had, I got it because I was on work experience at a paper, and I was really desperately trying to get a job, and it was really competitive. And they said to me, oh, we think that there's a job going because one of the reporters is leaving at a different paper. So I emailed the editor and was like, please, can you interview me for a job that I know you've got coming up? And he said, yes. He said, come in next Tuesday. Do you know where it is? And I replied saying, I'm a journalist, so I'll find it. And I think that's one big mistake that people have now, is they don't take that initiative. They'll just be like, where is it? What time is it? Can you give me the postcode? Blah, blah, blah. If you're a journalist, just find it for yourself.
It's a really good thing, actually, I think that, because I think even when I was applying for like PR jobs and stuff, I would go the extra mile, and I would write a press release for the brand I was interviewing to send to them to prove that I really, really wanted it. And I think it's that thing that so many people, the extra mile is not crowded, is it? So you think on your feet.
It's not.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, it's not. No, and he, in that first interview, actually, he said to me, he was like, oh, I think you're too into fashion to be a serious journalist. So obviously I took that as like a red rag to a bull. And the next day I ended up writing him like 5 stories that he could use in the paper. So that's how I actually got my first job. I think I just stunk of desperation to be a journalist. And I don't really know why, because the hours are really long, the pay is terrible, you get abused by the public. I don't know what I was thinking.
I think that trolling side, really, I do often think about that with journalists, because
you are really taking a lot upon yourself, aren't you, by being public and having any opinion. It's quite a public space, isn't it? So you've got to honestly, I take my hat off to anyone who's a journalist, because I think you have to put up with an awful lot these days. And it wasn't quite the same 10 years ago, was it? It's a very sort of modern phenomenon, the social media and the access to people who have views and opinions and writing about them with a big audience, I guess, has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's especially for journalists working at their local newspapers, because a lot of them, I don't think people realise that they're about, 21 years old. They have moved because they love doing what they do, and they want to work in the community and help the community. So they move to a place they don't know. So we'd have reporters, in Oxford who are from, Liverpool, Blackpool, wherever else, come here, and they don't have a community around them because they don't have their family around them. The only people they have are the people in the newsroom, and it's really hard for them to be that age and to be getting some of the abuse that is sent is horrendous. And last year, and actually this year, I'm working with the Department for Media, Sport and Culture on a new kind of law and safety plan for journalists, because I found over the last few years the abuse is crazy, especially if you're a woman or if you're kind of an ethnic minority. The abuse is crazy, and I was like, I'm getting all this abuse, I know my staff are getting this abuse, I've got to do something about it. So I did this survey, had 400 responses, and it was some of the stuff that, rape threats, death threats, people having to move home. And I was finding myself that if people were sending me abuse online, I would get really paranoid that people would know where I live. I would think someone was following me home, and it just got to a point that I just thought, I have to do something about this. This isn't okay. And I think the industry has a lot to do in terms of protecting people, and the public has a lot to do in terms of what is and isn't okay to say online, and how you should be held accountable for it. Because people aren't. They think they can just, I had a really nasty email last year from a woman, and it made me cry. And obviously, as a journalist, you're supposed to just be kind of, not take anything on. But it made me cry. I was so upset, and I decided to reply to her and say, do you realise that I'm a human? You don't know me. You don't know anything I'm going through, and you've decided to send me this because you're angry at your situation, which has nothing to do with me. And she replied to me saying, I'm a keyboard warrior, so when I'm angry, I just, I found your email address and I thought I'd just take it out on you.
It's just crazy, isn't it?
It's not okay. It's not okay. No.
I feel like it's one of those things where we're trying to sort of regulate something that's already out of the box, and like trying to shove it back in and sort it out is obviously going to be a massive challenge, especially when they have the clout that they have financially as well. It's a bit terrifying, isn't it? A little bit. But then so you got promoted really quickly though, didn't you? So one of the great highlights for you is being, what is it, the youngest female editor?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And the Buxley Press, I was the first female editor in 160 years. So yeah, it was quite cool seeing the old ones and seeing all these like rich, white men doing it, and then there I was like, hello, girl from the council estate.
And how's it been in that role then? How have you tacked it? What have you done?
From being a trainee journalist, I then took my second qualification, which is the NQJ, to become a senior, and then I got promoted onto the news desk, and then from there I got promoted to deputy editor. And at the time I was about 24, and I think my boss just really took it. He was the same one that told me I was too into fashion. He really just saw my how much I loved doing it and my enthusiasm, and there was a bit of a backlash to it, because people were like, she's a 24-year-old woman, what are you doing? That's not a job for a 24-year-old woman, that's a job for a 50-something man. So from there then I became an editor when I was about 20. I think I was like 26. The years are adding on now. So I moved to Reading and took over at Berkshire and Buckinghamshire. So I had about 6 newspapers there. And when I got there, I had to make a lot of changes. And then about a year after that, I got moved to Oxford to take over at the Oxford papers, which was a bit of a step up because it's a daily. So it's the other papers that I did were weeklies, and here I was doing dailies, which means that I just didn't have a life outside the newsroom.
Very busy then, I'm
So yeah, it's been really great, and we got newspaper of the year. I was editor of the year. USA, got an award from USA Today. Don't like to brag,
Wow.
but yeah,
Fantastic.
it's been good. But that's not why you do it at the end of the day. That's not what I think a misconception a lot of kids have now when I lecture them at Brooks on journalism. I think a misconception a lot of people have is that you become a journalist to become famous, and they think of like Piers Morgan or Laura Koonsberg, and that's actually not the reality for 99% of journalists. And the only reason I think you should get into journalism is because you want to help people. Like the most memorable things, I've done a lot of stuff, like I've met the Queen, I've been to Buckingham Palace, blah blah blah, humble brag, but that's not what I will take to my grave with me. I will take the people that I've genuinely helped, or the people who have called me at 11 o'clock at night and said, I just really need someone to talk to, and I know that you're there, like, can you just talk to me? So that's what I would take away from it.
And what advice, if there's someone watching this that wants to be a journalist and they're not quite sure where to start, what to do, what advice would you give to them in this kind of modern space we're in?
I would say, so the first thing, so the qualification that most print journalists have is the NCTJ, which you can do as an MA, or you can do it as a part of your degree, or you can do it as a fast track course. So that's kind of the gold standard, because there's a lot of rules and laws that you need to abide by, because otherwise if you don't, your editor might go to prison. So they need that guarantee that you know what you're doing. So look into doing that. You can also do it as an apprenticeship now, which is great, because it means that if you are, you know, if you can't afford to do it yourself, the company will pay for you to do it, which is really good. But the other thing is just get yourself out there and actually write stuff and come up with ideas. And, you know, editors are really busy, and actually what they want is content that's done. Like if you've got a really good story, you could be on the front page. You just have to be tenacious enough to want to do it. Yeah. And, you know, if you are really good and you impress them, the next time they've got a job going, they'll give it to you. Yeah, hopefully.
I think that thing about like writing, like no matter how old you are, you can start writing, can't you? And, you know, even if it's on a blog, or, you know, you're just writing long captions on your Instagram to get yourself going, like there are stories to tell everywhere and every day, isn't there? So it's always fun to be on writing all the time. So on to though, your style editor business. So was this an evolution of your fashion love and also your journalism love? What, like, tell me about the process there.
Yeah, so I wanted to really, I feel that I've been, because I did that, a big job obviously when I was a young woman, which had its own challenges. And then I feel that I went through a bit of a confidence transformation myself that I could try and help other women with. Because when I was hiring for a job, for example, when I was hiring for a deputy editor at Oxford, I had a few women in mind who would be amazing at that job. And I asked them, and they all said, oh no, not me. I can't do that. I'm not ready to do that. And men who aren't as ready they won't even think about it. They'll just say, yeah, okay, I can do that, no problem. Whereas women need a bit more help with seeing actually they are an expert. And so what I do now is I mix kind of my media side of stuff, my media strategy stuff, with the styling, just to make them hopefully feel really good about themselves and their brands. Because one of the big issues that women have when I speak to them about either thing is that they don't want to put themselves out there as the expert. They can't see that that is what they are. And so they need someone to make it clear to them that that is what they are.
It is crazy, isn't it? I think because we, especially like sort of probably my generation, like a bit older than you, I think, we were always behind the camera. We were always behind the scenes. We were never in front of anything. And especially in PR, I spent the whole time just making sure everything looked great at that side, but not this side. And when you come to thinking, well, how do I then become this expert? You're like, well, I don't know. And you know how to do it because you've done it for other people. But somehow it's so hard to do your own shouting, isn't it? And we're bad at it. I hope women, next generation, like, will all have it nailed, because we didn't, and hopefully we're giving them some confidence and some visibility that it's possible. And I just did it bit by bit by, like, you know, getting more on camera and stuff and more out there. But how do you kind of coach your ladies to get a bit more confident then?
That's what I would say, is that you know what you're doing, you're an expert at what you do, but just do it bit by bit. So if doing Instagram live sounds massively daunting, just do one, see how it goes. If you mess it up, it's live, you don't have to save it, and really no one really watches live anyway, a lot of people watch back. So just delete it and don't worry about it and just move on. And actually, mistakes make you human, and it's you and, you know, who you are showing up as yourself that actually will make people connect with you. And not, you know, not everyone wants to be sold to all the time. They actually just want your story, and they want to know how, you know, you can help them, especially if you're a service-based business, because you might have been through something that they've been through that they now need help with. So yes, you have to, it is really tough showing up, but unfortunately you kind of have to.
I know, and I think that's the funny thing is as well, that if you have expertise, somehow you might end up speaking about everything except the expertise. So you're like putting nice things up on Instagram, you're making it all look pretty, and it's like, but what's your thing? And you're like, oh yeah, it's so easy to just overlook these obvious things, isn't it? And just have that confidence to say, like, I do have like X amount of years of experience in this. I might not know everything, but I have a lot to bring to the table. And it's like, yeah, I love that you kind of bring that out of people. It's super amazing. So you work with women on both things then, so they can do the styling and they can do the kind of coaching then as well?
Yeah, so some women will want media stuff, but they'll also want, for example, photography is really important for a brand. It's important for your social media, but also for traditional media too, as you know. And sometimes people don't have any photos of themselves, because it comes back to the same thing of they don't want to put themselves out there. So I try and help them feel confident about photo shoots, you know, guiding them through what to wear, because I have the editor, kind of my editor hat on. I know what looks good for a front cover and what looks terrible. So I can help them with that side of it too.
Got it. It's really amazing to have these two things together, isn't it, actually, because you're coming at it from the stylist, but also the editor thing. So you can really see what's going to work from that angle. And you're totally right about photos. The number of times people think Instagram's enough, and sometimes you can get away with the odd Instagram picture, can't you? But that high-res professional shot, like, is worth it. Does, like, you know, it's worth the cash, isn't it? Always worth investing.
Absolutely.
And have you invested in your kind of photography and stuff as well then?
I have. Well, actually, I've got photos. So because it was lockdown, I did a few photos with a friend of mine, Hester. We went to a hotel.
Is that
literally the day before? The day before lockdown, and she was like, pose and get a good friend first of all. That's what you need to do.
Yes.
We did like a 3-hour photo shoot, but I have actually got because I know some really good photographers, so I have got that planned, because now obviously it's March the 29th and we're able finally to get out. So
yeah, agreed. I know, so close. I know, I'd echo that as well, I think, because I find a friend that's kind of on your same wave level as well, because I've got a friend that we meet up a few hours in London, we bash content out that we're going to be able to use for 3 months, and then it might be like even autumnal content, and then we'll use it the year after as well. So I think that if you can find someone like-minded that's not, like, probably not your husband or your boyfriend, because they're going to be eye-rolling, waiting for you, being... So yeah, get someone who's going to not care about, like, let's just spend an hour, like, getting this done, and then you feel a lot happier, and you'll be more confident as well, because if you're happy with your photographer or your friend doing it, it comes across, doesn't it? If you're anxious, because you're like, you know, your husband's going to kill you in a minute. Like,
yeah, my husband's like, 1 photo done. I'm like, no, that's not enough. No. So yeah, get a friend, and get a friend who's a cheerleader as well, that's going to make you feel really good and be like, oh my god, you look amazing. Yes, this is if there's anything you take from this talk today, this is the key, isn't it? Get great people around you, I guess. Yes, absolutely.
So tell me as well about, so you've got a Skyrocket Your Confidence thing going in April, and is it your birthday this week?
Last week,
Last
it
week.
was my birthday.
Oh, so
Yeah.
happy birthday.
So I was slightly feeling worse for wear on Friday because I'm not getting any younger. Apparently, I can't drink anymore.
Lockdown hangovers are worse
So
than normal ones.
yeah, it was not nice. So yeah, so this thing that I've got on the 8th is a workshop, really a free kind of, it's hopefully just going to be a safe space for women to just feel good about themselves, because obviously in lockdown a lot of the women that I'm working with or speaking to, they feel rubbish. They've spent the year homeschooling, they've spent the year in loungewear, they feel like they're carrying a bit more weight than they were before, they've just completely lost their confidence, and as a result of that sometimes they're overspending on, you know, it's things that to try and make themselves feel good, when actually they need to do the kind of the inner work to do that. Because if you don't, as RuPaul says, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love someone else? But it's
true words.
It's so true. RuPaul knows. Yeah, you need to do, you know, that kind of work on yourself, just get into a place where you actually can, even if you can't love yourself, just accept where you are now. And so many women are holding on to clothes from the past version of themselves, or they're holding on to stuff that they think, "Oh, one day when I've lost weight, when I do, you know, when I'm this woman, then I'll wear that." But actually all you have is now, so you should treat yourself like that now, you know, just
Totally.
live your life.
Totally agree. I had the organising lady come to my flat because I'm a hoarder. Like I'd had like boho belts from the first time round, and all, you know, the whole shebang, like it's practically cowboy boots hanging out, Ugg boots, all the whole shebang. And it just, I really needed to move on, and like, but I just needed someone else to help me. It's so hard to do it yourself, isn't it? Go like, okay, I'm going to be cutthroat about this. And I was like, I kept putting it back in the wardrobe. And she was like, okay, I'm here to help. And just talking it through with somebody else, it's such an amazing thing. It's like a big gift to yourself, isn't it? Like doing this process, I think. And
yeah,
wearing
definitely.
things you love.
Yes, and just, you know, a lot of people say, when I speak to them, a lot of women, I'll say, well, when was the last time that you dressed up? And they'll say, well, last year before lockdown, because I'm not seeing anyone. But then if you're not dressing up for yourself, you're basically saying that your opinion doesn't matter, and that your feelings don't matter, and that actually what other people think of what you wear is more important than what you think of what you wear. So, you know, even if no one sees it, just, I dress up to take photos for my Instagram, but it makes me feel so much better to just put on a nice outfit and dance around my house for 5 minutes. It's a real mood lifter.
Yeah, I think just that thing of like washing your hair, putting your makeup on, like it does make you like have a better mood almost, doesn't it? It gets you ready for the day a bit. And I think there's a quote, like, if you're kind of always a bit ready, you'll never have to get ready. So like, you know, you kind of always, not OTT, but like, you know, if you're always kind of happy in what you are wearing and how you look, you're not going to be like scrambling around getting ready if you need to suddenly go out somewhere or whatever. So there's that kind of, yeah, that level of like, you know, how you want to feel, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Fabulous. So then onto your more, I suppose, editor side. So your Smash Your Media ebook has kind of been designed for like women who are going through that process and also want to get media coverage as well. Is that the vibe?
Yeah, so obviously as an editor, I get inundated with messages from people on Instagram saying, how do I get into the media? And obviously there's a whole process. And so I was getting all these questions, so I thought it would just be really good to have somewhere to direct people to that basically just spills everything that I know that they need to do into one place, so that it's all there for them to have a go at. And a few people have actually done the steps and then sent me they've written their own press release and then sent it over to me to have a look at, because I think it's really important to, in your business, outsource where you aren't the greatest. Like if PR and writing is not your strong point, outsource it, get a PR. But when I think when people are first starting, it's really hard for them to even know what is PR, or even, you know, because we're obviously in media, so we get it. But if you're outside looking in, it looks really confusing and scary. And generally, you never really speak to an editor because they're usually just so busy. And there are a few, obviously, very well-known ones, but the ones in local media or at smaller publications, you don't really know who they are. or get the chance to actually speak to them or pick their brains. So I just thought, I'm just going to put it all down and hopefully it will help someone.
Yeah, it's so good. I think that's the thing. It does feel like, I think it is a scary world, and we use like bonkers words that don't mean anything to anyone else. And, you know, we know more about lead times and how to get to someone and how to pitch it and all the rest of it. And if you don't work in it, then having that shortcut's going to be an amazing thing to do, isn't it? And I'm guessing people have had really great results as well, because obviously once you've kind of got the building blocks, you just repeat it, can't you? Like once you know how to do a sort of mini campaign or whatever, that you can just repeat it, can't you? So it must be really valuable.
Yeah, exactly. So someone sent me their press release they'd written from it the other day, and it's really good. And I was like, oh, you've done everything that I said. It's amazing. It's just trying to help people, really, because I think the two sides of it are the editors are really busy and they don't have the content, they don't have the staff anymore, and they don't have any budget. Like it comes back to the photography thing, because a lot of people think, oh, well, you know, the newspaper or the magazine will pay for my photos. Actually, they don't have photographers. They're relying on you to have the photos. So on that side, editors really need help. On the other side of it, small businesses really need help as well. And so, yeah, it just felt like a good thing to do for both sides of it. But obviously I didn't want to, so I feel that and you know, most PR professionals or editors who are online give quite a lot of content away for free to help people. It's valuable, but I felt that I just couldn't, it took me hours and hours, obviously, and I don't want to downgrade the work of the industry, because I think there's a lot of discussion at the moment around rates and people not understanding the price, or you know, the gift and the craft of being able to write, because it is a skill that takes years and years to hone. And so there's a lot of kind of conversation going on in some of the groups that I'm in of freelance journalists saying, actually, we all need to get paid, so let's stop taking really bad rates because we can't eat. Like that's the reality of it. So
is that just the sort of squeezing of the industry then, as people are being squeezed to get more budget, so more out of less budget, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, typically local news publishers, they don't really have a freelance budget, really. But yeah, I think it's just across the board. Obviously it comes down to the fact that the industry started putting everything online for free like 20 years ago, and so people just thought, growing up now, they just think that news is free. Like something like 67% of adults don't understand that journalism actually costs, like they don't understand how it's paid for.
That's
so it's
wow.
Yeah, so they don't understand how it's paid for. They feel that they don't have to pay for it. It's not something to pay for. The advertising revenue declines because people aren't reading it, and obviously advertising is based on the number of readers that you have. So because then the advertisers not spending, the revenue goes down. And so the news publishers are a business and they just don't have the money to spend that they used to have. And then obviously they get the backlash from the public, like, why aren't you doing this? Why are you doing that? Blah, 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 blah. It's all kind of a vicious circle that's happening where people don't appreciate the cost of it, and then they're not paying for it, and then the publishers don't have the money to pay for qualified, skilled freelancers.
It's possible, isn't it? I remember the days of, you know, being in PR and having, you know, almost like 50 grand to spend on a press day, and you're like, crikey, that's a lot of money. You know, those kind of days where it was like eye-watering budgets, and you know, magazines were going off to do all their photo shoots the other side of the world, and it was all really like much more glamorous, wasn't it? And it's just not the same world now, is it? It's completely been turned on its head, and there's not, like, yeah, we just kind of need to work with, I suppose, what we've got. But that does sound like a really good thing, to stop accepting like the it should almost be regulated, shouldn't it? It just seems like they shouldn't be able to get away with devaluing the work, because you've, you know, gone away and got educated. It's not just like anyone can do it, is it? Let's face it.
Yeah, that's a problem. People just think that anyone can. They don't understand that. Like I said about the NCTJ, journalists at regulated media have to have the NCTJ, because if you libel someone or you commit contempt, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. So, you know, it does take skill to just write. And so I thought, you know, some people are like, you haven't charged enough. Some people are like, why isn't this free? But I could not do that to the industry, do it for free, because we already give a lot of value away for free anyway. And also the other thing is that if you pay for something just a little bit, you will implement it more. If how many times have you know, anyone downloaded like a free webinar or a free download, never read them, never listen to it, don't care, because you're just not investing in it. So
that's so true. I did Seth Godin's The Marketing Seminar, and it took me 6 months, but I swear to God, I only finished it because I paid for it. I was not having it, and not many people. I think there was about 800 people that started it or something like that, and I think about 50 finished it, because you could tell. It was like fascinating. What are all these people doing? How much money have they all got to like not finish?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So tell me about the business plan and everything with the style editor. How did you come up with a name and the branding and all those fun things?
So the name obviously was like style editor, like no, groundbreaking. So yeah, that was the name. But then with the branding, I did it myself, and I did it the way that I did because I think, like we were saying about being authentic and showing up, not being vanilla. And sometimes, especially women, get scared of being authentic online and showing up as themselves because they think, oh, you know, what will people think, and people are going to go off me and all this sort of stuff. But when you're aligned with your brand and you're being authentic, the right people are going to be called in to work with you. And actually your brand isn't supposed to speak to everybody, it's supposed to speak to the people that you need to help. So I thought that's, you know, that feels very aligned to me. So that's how I'm going to do it, and how I'm going to talk to the women that I want to help. But I think with styling, people make the assumption that if you wear, you know, because I love a sequin, if you wear, you know, outlandish prints or colors or sequins, you're going to try and shoehorn them into your style. And actually, the job of a stylist is making you feel really confident in your style. It's not about me at all. Like, you like what you like. It's my job to help you feel amazing when you're wearing it. So yeah,
that's what I love. I love that about stylists. They can go to any shoot, anywhere, anything, and their job is not to bring them to the shoot. It's like to make it look, you know, follow that creative direction or whatever, like bring the best out of it. And yeah, honestly, like I love seeing stylists at work with their like little tool bag of stuff. Like they're always like, stylists are always ready and always seeing the one thing that no one else is seeing. It's such a skill. I wish I had it. It sounds like amazing. So did you say you did a course then to get certified, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could just be a stylist if you want to. Like, it's not like the NCTJ, there's no law, but I just wanted that kind of grounding in it and the understanding of it so that I could better serve people, I suppose. So yeah, it was really interesting to learn more about especially color and color psychology and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really interesting. So
it's really interesting, isn't it? Like some colors really just, I think it took me a really long time to realize that I'm more like a spring, and that's why winter is like, the winter color palette is so hard for me, and I like it, just not on me. So it looks great on everyone, like other people, but it's funny, isn't it? Once you kind of think, it's fine, I just don't wear those ones then, and I just feel a lot better.
Yeah, I've got my husband doing it now too. So we'll be watching TV and he's like, she's a spring, is he a winter? Like, it's quite cute, really. Yeah, because really I've done his colours and everything.
Which season are you? Are you
winter?
A winter. So you're,
yeah.
I like winters, but I feel like winters are the people you want to be, because you get to wear the strong colours and it's really bold, isn't it? And like, it's a glamorous thing.
Yeah, I didn't realise before, like bright pink is like I just love it. That seems to be a colour that I just like when I put on, but I am very, very pale. Like, that's from with winter. You can't wear black like near your face. If you're warm, if you're a spring, especially actually if you're a dark autumn, they look really great in black. But yeah, winters, it's ironic really, because the winter is drained in that wintry, you know, black color. But the tendency for a lot of people is just to wear black and white, especially if they're, you know, going for business or whatever. They think that's what
smart.
you know. So yeah, so I just try and if they're interested in wearing more color, try and just bring in elements from the colors that really, I would never say to someone, if they really love a color, I'm never going to say to someone, you look hideous, because the job of a stylist is to make people feel really good. So if you really love something and you feel really good in it, wear it. But yeah, my job is to, you know, show people the colors that really make them glow, as it were, I suppose. Yeah.
I ditched a lot of my, when I realized, because I hate winter, I always really struggle in winter, I ditched a lot of my black stuff, and I've been wearing like more creams and stuff in winter, which is harder because you feel like you're just gonna get muddy somehow. But I just feel a lot happier than when I'm like head to toe in black. So I just feel like, yeah, it's just weird, isn't it? Like it really affects your personality, I suppose. Your confidence again, isn't it? Confidence, that's exactly the right word. Yeah,
it does. Like if you're having a really bad day and you want to feel better, put on a bit of colour and it will make you feel better.
Do you have like one outfit that you absolutely love?
An outfit that I love? So I've got a Rixo sequin tiger print dress that is like my dream dress. So when I'm feeling a bit rubbish, I've only worn it around the house because I got it in lockdown, but yeah, when I'm feeling a bit rubbish, I put that on. Now I've got my eye on another Rixo dress for my brother-in-law's wedding next year, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to get that dress.
I feel like the leopard could be almost like your logo then. That's like you and that logo. You need to be photographed in that then. We need to like have that, when you do your big shoot.
Yeah, leopard print. I love a bit of leopard print. A bit of Bette Lynch vibes, bit of Pat Butcher vibes. Yeah. That's me.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, all those things. How fabulous. So what would you say is your USP then? Is it this kind of this special, because I don't know any other sort of stylist editors that are giving that information away. Is that where you would say is your USP?
I think so, yeah. I mean, that's what that kind of idea, although I'm doing both, I didn't really think of it as an idea, but when I started talking to people, they were like, that's really great that you can do both of those things, you can help us. So that's what my main package kind of now is about, both of those things. But it's essentially, my job is to make people feel confident and kind of show up. And I've been in a situation where I did do a very high level tough job at quite a young age, so I've got that experience to help people. And yeah, I just think the confidence side of it is what everything comes down to, and just making women feel that they can do anything, because you get so kind of crushed under limiting beliefs that aren't yours, they're the world's. And when you start to realize that, you can actually unblock them and start to just live authentically as the person that you actually are.
Yeah, so freeing, isn't it? I think.
Yes, that's what I love to do. Just love to help women get rid of them blocks and just live their best lives. Yay. Which hopefully they can start doing now that lockdown is almost over.
Yeah, so close, can almost touch it. So what about social media then? Which is your favorite platform, and how do you go about, like, what's your social media tips? Because I know I always see your stuff, it's really empowering and really fun. Like, what advice would you give to others?
I think I did a post today about getting to 5k, because I got to 5,000 followers on my birthday, which was nice. But I debated whether to say anything, because I know a lot of people were like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter, when actually we all know that we all kind of sometimes get caught up on the follower number. And it's taken me 3 years to get there. And for the first couple of years, this time last year, I had about 1,000 followers, which is great, because I think every single follower you have is a human, is a person you can make a connection with. And so don't be, you know, if you're in a party, if you're in an amazing party and 1,000 people showed up for you, you're outside, you know, desperately trying to get more people in. That's just enjoy make a really good experience for the people in your party, and then other people want to come in too. And that's what I think as I got rid of some of my own blocks and just realized that, you know, some of the things that I was holding myself back a lot. Once I started to actually show up just authentically and honestly, that's when my follower number grew. And I didn't honestly really particularly notice it or feel that desperation, because I feel that what I was putting out was authentic and it was actually helping people. So I think that's, you know, have your key message in mind and show up as yourself, and don't try and be, you're unique, and what you do is unique. And if you're thinking, well, someone else is doing what I want to do, I'll be no good because, you know, the industry's saturated, etc., etc. The reason that you have this idea is because you're supposed to do it, and so no one else can do what you do the way that you do it. You have to just show up as yourself. And it's really easy with social media to get sucked into a certain aesthetic, because you think, well, that's, you know, really working, that's the aesthetic that works for everyone. But that's why with like the leopard print and my branding, I was like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. And, you know, the people that are meant to resonate with it will, and that's fine. Yeah. So yes, just show up, be authentic. Don't try not to worry too much about the number of followers, especially if you have a business, because you need people that are engaged with your business. You're not, you know, there's no point having 5,000 followers if absolutely no one engages with you or wants to buy from you or work with you. What's the point? There's no point.
No, totally. And I think there's that number, isn't there, the 1,000 true fans, I think it is. And that's like, you know, focus on selling to a small amount of people and building a proper community rather than chasing the numbers. And yeah, like you said, we're all guilty of that. But yeah, if you can keep your eyes on the prize and make sure you're building a profitable business at the end of the day with a community that really enjoys like working with you and buying from you, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't need that many customers to have a sustainable business, but you do need the right customers, because no one wants to work with people that don't align with them. So your content needs to just picture that one, you know, who is that one person that you want to help, that your content is made to help, and picture them, and then think, what do they need to see today? I'm gonna write for them.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're more of an Instagram than a Twitter kind of gal as well.
I hate Twitter. Obviously, for journalism, you have to use Twitter, because so if you want to get media coverage, all the journalists are hanging out on Twitter. They're not hanging out on Instagram. Don't DM them in their messages late at night on Instagram, please. They're hanging out on Twitter, because Twitter is a kind of platform where it's quick. You don't have to put a lot of yourself on there. You can just put, you know, Oxford Living Editor. That's it. You don't need to show up and put pictures of yourself. And obviously with all the safety issues, people don't want their lives online. So yeah, Twitter is where all the trolls are. I'm not a big fan. I've actually recently got very into LinkedIn. So yeah, that's where it's at, I feel, in 2021. Or maybe I'm just getting old, I don't know. I'm like, LinkedIn, I like it there.
I try LinkedIn every now and again, and I find it really hard, because this is really bad, but I always just think people are going to come and say, wow, little girl, you don't understand public relations. What are you doing on here? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just happy on Instagram. So I have that thing where I don't quite feel comfortable on there. It feels like a bit trolley, like people can really jump on things, and you're like, I'd just rather not, thanks. But yeah, I think it used to be so good. I used to really like it, actually.
Yeah, they do like argue. I've seen a few and they're arguing with you, and you just think, who's got time for this? Just stop it. Like, yeah, that's annoying on there. But I think on LinkedIn, I'm trying to make my LinkedIn, the content, quite similar to what I do on Instagram. So I'm not really sure if it's working at the moment. I'm just going to keep plugging away in it and see what happens. But yeah, Instagram is where, and actually I've met so many people, amazing people through Instagram, people that I now call friends, I've met through Instagram. That's the beauty of it, and that's what really it's all about, I think.
Yeah,
that's corny, but
it is true. Yeah, I think LinkedIn. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll have to have a little look at it again. But yeah, that's a good idea actually, because I don't necessarily put the same content through both. So that's an interesting way of doing it actually. And then it does take a few months, doesn't it, to build back up. But I tell you, the thing I don't like about Twitter is when people do the kind of journalist bashing, PR bashing. I just find that like counterproductive on every level, and it makes me like, you know, like that bullying feeling where you're like, it just makes me almost feel sick. Like I just don't. Yeah. So that it is a bit of interesting for news, isn't it? But yeah, perhaps not very friendly. Hang out.
Yeah, Twitter is the worst. Like I, as a journalist, absolutely hate Twitter. I just think it's a bin fire, and I try now not to go on there, because when I was working in news, obviously I had to go on there and monitor it all the time, and it just, the abuse and the just people not actually reading stuff, and there's a massive problem with people not reading stories and then just jumping to their own conclusions and thinking that their opinion is, you know, gospel, and just saying what they want. And it's anxiety inducing, I think, if you work, especially if you work in an industry like we do. If you can just use it for fun, like my husband just uses it for football stuff, football banter, and, you know, the occasional meme. But if you have to use it for work, memes are good on Twitter. If something funny's going on, like Line of Duty last night, and that was on, afterwards I did look on Twitter, because there are some classic Line of Duty
last night. I literally was saying, I was like, I need to lie down before I watch this, and I need to watch it at half speed with like subtitles and notes, because I am OCT out. Like, I've got no idea what we're about anymore. Like, a lot of the terminology, like, what are they talking about? because the cheers, I was like,
the cheers, it's the cheers.
Is this new, or is it me? I don't understand.
No, I'm gonna watch it's really good though. The ending was really good. I also really love that actress that's DCI Jo Davison, is that her name in it?
Yeah, they've got
the Scottish one.
Yeah. Got to say though, it's very strong, and I've been very excited for it, so I'm very, very pleased it's back. But anyway, let's go on to who in the industry kind of inspires you. Who's your team, and who do you look up to?
Oh, so many people. I've met so many amazing women, a lot of them through Instagram actually. And the person who kind of, when I moved to Reading, I didn't know anyone at all here, and my husband actually wasn't with me because he was still working in Somerset. And one night I got a message on Instagram from a woman called Michelle, who runs a company called Rain and Rose, which is an events company, and she was just starting out then, and she said to me, do you want to come to, I'm holding a networking event on Wednesday, you should come to it. And Wednesday came around, and I was really tired because work had been stressful, it was raining, I did not want to go. And my husband was like, no, you have to go, you have to just put yourself out there and go. And from that, I met the stylist who became my coach. I met Hester, who is amazing, my cheerleader. I met Joyce through that, Joyce Connor, who I think is watching it now, who is an incredible skincare guru and did my wedding makeup and gave me that Meghan Markle glow, which I always wanted. Nice. I've just, so many amazing women on here that I've met through it, like Antonia Taylor, who I know that you know, and Fiona, who's Bosch PR. Oh my God, there's just like, this platform is just full of incredible women. And what I actually love about them is that they're women who support women, like it's genuine support. There are a couple of stylists who've really helped me, Janine, Own Your Style, and Victoria Hamilton, who are both stylists, and they could have both been, I did get a few catty comments from people when I said that I was doing styling, like stylists, but they both, like, they've been so generous with their time and their knowledge and helping me. And that's, to find women like that is just amazing, I think, because they're just genuine cheerleaders of other women. And that's amazing. That's
why I like this platform as well. It's got more good than bad, for sure. Like, there's definitely, you just make sure you spend the time on on here to find those people, and don't think about numbers and all the rest of it. You're going to find a lovely tribe, aren't you? And it's really, it's a lovely place to be. So last few questions, because it's almost 7 o'clock, would you believe it? How do you split your time between business and real life? And I know you had a bit of a chuckle when I asked you this really before, because obviously it's lockdown, and is there even such a thing? But do you have kind of a few rules that you adhere to?
No, I think because I kind of grew up in a newsroom, I'm just very used to multitasking and just doing a million things at once and working very long days. Prior to this, obviously, because I had to, but now just because I love it. And the lecturing that I do at Brooks, I do that. And then I kind of reserve the evenings for appointments, because a lot of my clients are mums, or it's their kind of business that they're working, and they have jobs too. So I do a lot of stuff in the evenings or on weekends. But I try to take time off every now and again. I think in lockdown it's been really hard to do that, because what else is there, you know, on a weekend and it's lockdown, and my husband's watching loads of football. What else am I supposed to do but do the work? And when you are running your own business, it's like your baby, and you just think about it all the time, and there's just so much to do. But one thing that I've done recently, which a coach suggested that I should do, and at the time I thought it was crazy, is get some VA help. Because if you're trying to work and do your business, when you spend the time in your business, you end up doing like really little silly things that take up a lot of your time but aren't moving you forward.
Yeah.
So got some help from Melissa at Spare My Time, which is starting soon, and I can't wait to. She just totally gets it and gets like where I want to go, and I'm pleased about that.
Yeah, because it's not always the easiest thing to find, is it? I think it's quite easy to find the wrong help as well. Like, so finding the right help for you that's going to really do it, and then you'll be so pleased, because it's just like, I've got people I work with and I couldn't do it without them, because sometimes you've seen the same piece of content 25 times, or you overloaded and you just need to go like, okay, please just help me finish this off, or whatever it is. And they're a godsend, like anyone who kind of helps you streamline and keeps you focused on the income generating side, doesn't it? So it's
exactly
amazing.
Yeah,
I'm glad you have taken that step, because it's a really important one, I think.
It's really scary. Any kind of investment in yourself is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And it's a huge block for women, especially if you've got a really kind of scarcity, which I had, a real like scarcity money mindset. And it's terrifying to take that step to make that investment in yourself. But, once you do it, you're telling the world, you're telling the universe that you want to go to the next level, and
you believe
you won't regret it. If you find the right person, obviously, I think you need to find the right
spend the time
people, like you said.
Agree. And then let's finish on the motto or mantra that you live by. Let's finish on a high.
Mine is, what is for you won't go round you. So that was something that my grandparents used to say, that my mum now says to me whenever I'm having a absolute meltdown, and that I would say to anyone, is that same thing as when you're feeling comparisonitis and you're feeling like you can't do it because other people are doing it. Just remember that actually what is for you is not going to go around you. Just keep plugging away, keep telling the universe what it is that you want, and it will come to you. If it's supposed to come to you, it will come to you.
Perfect. Well, I think that's the best place to end on today. And thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And your full interview is actually on the blog, and they can get hold of your amazing download, obviously, through link in your bio. Is that going to be right?
Yeah. There's a link in my bio to everything.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved talking to you.
I know. I feel like we'll do this again someday.
Yes, I'd love to.
Yay. Cool. We'll have a good evening, my love, and I'll speak to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.